Hello, everybody. Scott Stevens here. Another weekend behind us as Monday rolls on through. In fact, Monday is almost behind us again. As we kind of wander into the world of weather around the world, some interesting things happening. Some earth shaking, some earth exploding, some rain, some tornadoes, and some very strong winds in the upper Midwest today, with some storms that erupted last night. And then they have continued to march towards the east, accompanied by some 70 to nearly 100-mile-per-hour winds. We'll get some more specific storm reports on that particular event in Illinois, Iowa, as it now moves through Indiana and Michigan here as we move through the evening hours. But nonetheless, it is that event is underway, and there are many, many counties in Indiana right now that are warned, meaning they've got warnings under well, let's just say ongoing for those population centers. Let's pop on over here and have a look at this. We'll start with Australia, as we often do. Kind of dry, where we don't see the shading. Yeah, all in through here, kind of dry. A few showers in the outback, but not much appreciable, less than 5 millimeters. So maybe 5, maybe even 15 if it tends to materialize. But otherwise, the bulk of the showers to remain offshore. It has been rather cool over there. As we check the outback of South Australia, usually known for red earth, but a rare layer of snow covered the Finder's Range last week, as they did get a couple of, about 13.6 millimeters of rain and snow mix, and that's a nice alternative to dry desert locations. As far as other Australian news, New South Wales hit by strong winds and the worst flood in 29 years, and after the droughts and the incredible fires, it has really been followed by an amazing quantity of water and cool air. So last week we showed some before and after photographs of post-burn, and then just the green shoots coming up, and that fire, that ash, does wonderful things to reacclimatize the soils, to bring them back to life. That is simply just part of the process. As we look at the National Hurricane Center, in specific the eastern Pacific region, we've got one zone here, disturbance with just a 10% chance of formation inside of 48 hours. But as we look towards the bottom of the screen, the formation chance through 5 days, they've got ranked just a bit above 50-50. Elida, maximum sustained winds at 65 knots or 75 miles an hour. So it is a minimal hurricane at this point. Movement towards the west-northwest at 12 knots. So it's kind of in the trade easterlies. We'll take a little better look at it. Into the Atlantic. One little storm out there with a medium risk of formation, 60% chance over the next 48 hours. But it's satellite drive data showing system having elongated surface circulation. However, conditions expected to be somewhat conducive for development to occur. So they're giving it a formation chance over the next 5 days to be at or greater than 50-50. So that's pretty good. All right, woke up, I believe it was Saturday morning, to news of a little earthquake, this time in North Carolina. Not like the ones that are going down in Owens Lake or in the Salton Sea or just east of Tonopah, Nevada, or north of Tonopah, Nevada, or up in Idaho still, or a few still rumbling underneath the Salt Lake City area. So we've seen a rather active area, rather active areas beginning to pop up here and there. So those are things. This quake activity, again, also Puerto Rico continuing to go. So we've got one. Well, we'll see what happens with the North Carolina one. Sometimes these initial ones are just one-offs. But what we have seen over the last 10 months or so is that once we see one, a big one, particularly a 6.65, that it tends to initiate a series, in fact, a long ongoing event. So those are concerning in a degree. All right, here's that volcano, Sinabung. Yeah, that sounds good. A volcano erupted today, 10 of August, at about 10 and 11 o'clock local time. First eruption, photo number 1 at 10:16, produced an ash plume that reached a height of about 5,000 meters, or the better part of 16,000 feet, according to Indonesian Airlines. And then the trade winds picked it up and carried it off. But it was quite the plume of ash as it continued to disgorge that ash into the atmosphere. There's a time-lapse photograph so you can see the easterly trade winds, and then up goes the darker sooty ash, and then even farther into the atmosphere. So this thing, we'll see how long it goes. It has been, I believe, just a year, so it's kind of a regular occurrence on this particular one. This one is just someone's wedding photograph, because, it was pretty. how often do you get, the Virga and the rain showers in the background, and the crystal blue waters, and then, of course, your wedding just happened to be timed right then and there. And, of course, as all wedding photographs are, they are touched just a little bit to accentuate the colors. All right, these are some of the winds that rolled through Illinois this afternoon. I don't know if this is exactly Illinois, but that was one of the areas that was particularly hard hit. And you can see how superficial some of the roots of the trees are. They just spread out like a plate rather than going deep like a taproot. And then that can lead them to being tipped over rather easily. All right, me being the strange thing in the sky kind of geek that I am, this video still has the weather community a little, shall I be kind and say confused, as they try to apply thermodynamics and how they believe the atmosphere works so that their laws of accepted thermodynamics and meteorology can then conform to what we see in the sky. If we take what we see in the sky and then create a set of rules around that, we begin to see a little bit of a broader perspective or a broader aspect of the powers that may be actually working in the sky. And it's not all just heat and humidity. There's electrical forces that, in my eyes, cannot be dismissed, and Nikola Tesla would probably agree. Here's another, here's another little better photograph. So what is that? It's absolutely some kind of pattern. That's an intelligent pattern. So there's some technology up there that is playing with this, that is, and what I have seen before and captured in time-lapse imagery, begins to stimulate the tops of these storms, or the other polarity. They begin to resonate in some way, and then the storm essentially ices out, means it over-crystallizes, and the rain droplets can't form, and then it just weeps out, and it looks like a big cascade of hair just kind of falls out to the ground, and the storm shows, some modest clouds at the back end as the turbulence takes over and churns the storm up. But nonetheless, there's something a little unusual going on there, and I just wanted to share that with you today. There's the earthquake in western North Carolina, the 5.1, and then this was part of the derecho cloud as it rolled through Iowa earlier today and gathered steam and continued to march very, very quickly off to the east. And then these are some of the very strong winds in Grinnell, Iowa, as it was downing power lines and so forth and so on. So kind of impressive that those kind of storms, when they roll through, there's not a lot of preparation, any more than say 15-20 minutes or so. Not that we can't see them on radar coming, you just don't know if the storms are going to hang together by about the time they get to your particular location. So that's kind of a quick look around what I found today. And what I wanted to do with this map is, kind of focus back in on Australia, since this gives us the wider view. 3 areas where we're kind of concerned about some cool weather, slightly out of season. One being Western Russia, and then South America continue to be very, very cold. They have been just brutalized by this particular winter, as storm after storm has been rolling off the Southern Ocean and just hammering them with snow and cold. And then also it looks like New South Wales, and then over to New Zealand, also going to have a very, very unsettled week ahead. All right, here is that line of storms responsible for the severe weather through the upper Midwest, just raging across Illinois, Michigan, Lake Michigan. If you're out on the lake today, then you probably had a few hairy moments as that storm came on through. Otherwise, the southeast with some storms, and then the southwestern monsoon, almost non-existent today. There's very, very little that's happening over there. So not much to talk about in that regard. And in the water vapor imagery, which is where I typically see the contrails revealed, I'm not seeing much action. I know they're out there. There just aren't too many places where they've been rather concentrated. Yesterday, it was the Northwest, and then up through British Columbia, and then working out of the Pacific. All right, this is that hurricane, the minimal hurricane, as it churns off the coast of Mexico. We've got Baja right here, Cabo San Lucas, and then you work your way northward. And then the heavy, heavy thunderstorms yesterday through the Sierra Madre of Mexico. And you give them a little sunshine, you give them a little tropical juice from the Gulf of Mexico and those east winds, and they are back yet again. So very busy there. Some big fire action in western Colorado. Let's zoom on in here. And here's that plume of smoke just north of Grand Junction. In fact, you can see the, in meteorology terms, that would be what we term an overshooting top, where you've got like this cirrus layer here and the thunderstorm blows through it and continues to climb skyward because it still has buoyancy, or the ability like a ping pong ball in bathwater in a swimming pool. It just pops up until it reaches equilibrium. And that's what we were seeing there. And with a lot of thunderstorms, they go up until they reach equilibrium. And that usually means they have released their heat, they have released their water until the temperature is equalized. There are those storms rolling through Chicago, now Indianapolis, southward through Illinois, and then continuing with the warned storms back into Missouri. A few storms in the far high plains of Oklahoma and Kansas. Western Kansas, western Oklahoma, Texas have been so dry, so very dry. They completely lost the entire winter wheat crop this year. It just literally had to be turned in. It wasn't even good enough for grazing for cows. So this moisture, albeit late in the season, is welcome nonetheless for the pasture aspects of things. And we'll come into this image, and then we can see the storms in Chicago right through here. They've just about cleared, so certainly brighter on the horizon to the west. And then the raging storms about to hit Kalamazoo, Fort Wayne, Kokomo, Indianapolis, Anderson, Indiana, and then farther off to the south. And western Iowa, where it was this morning, they were so dry, and so portions just west of Des Moines able to get some good water, and we'll find out on Thursday whether it was enough to dent the drought. I would probably say no, just because it's August and the water demands on the crops are still so great that they could handle an inch and a quarter every week, and that we would just be holding, or staying easy, or keeping up with the losses and the requirements. So in the wake of those storms, 60s in Illinois versus 90s as you get into southern Illinois, down to Paducah, Kentucky, say at 91. Still hot in West Texas. What's new? That's why we build homes and we stick in air conditioning. Same with the Central Valley of California with 108 up at Redding. Just plain hot. And I'm telling you, that heat out there is not going anywhere. We've got this high that's just going to just hang on. Here's the heat. It's actually kind of dried out as we see the dew points, at or a little bit below 65 degrees and even lower in the 50s as we move into West Texas. But that's compensated by temperatures that are over 100. And I was seeing some of these Gulf coastal locations where the heat index was close to 110 today. So that's just dangerous. That's you're from air conditioning to air conditioning to well, if you're in between the air conditioning, you're in the sauna, so it's kind of a rough day. Big zone of severe weather, cool in the upper Midwest, cool for early August. And as we get into day 2, it kind of tempers down just a little bit, and then by day 3, just some scattered showers. And the severe weather is almost non-existent because the dynamics, the requirement to just spin this baby up just are kind of missing. So as we look out, let's rewind this back to the beginning. Here's where the jet stream is with a strong high out of the North Pacific. So that shunts the whole jet stream off to the north through Canada, or through Alaska and the North Pacific. But there's a large deep low sitting across Alaska and introducing a lot of cool weather. And so as we run this forward, that cool air starts to slip into the northwest, and then the heat tries to take hold in the southwestern states, this coming towards Thursday, Friday of the end of this week. And then the heat reestablishes itself all the way through the Intermountain West, and then all the way through the Canadian prairies as we get into Tuesday of next week. So just about a week and 2 or 3 days away. So we've got some hot weather returning in the west. The monsoon, I don't want to say it's over, but it doesn't look really, really good, and that kind of leaves us in a precarious situation as we move into the fall. Good to see you guys on over there, Karen, Donald, with the gang in there. Mom is right where in Illinois, Iowa, Missouri. Yeah, that's crazy weather. They've got the water, they've got the energy. It just tends to be a very, very dynamic weather center. And if you're a weather guy, you love it. I'm sorry, you just kind of love it. All right, the map that's up now is China. And what I'm looking at is a total precipitation for 16 days, and not how much has fallen, but the anomaly, meaning how much above and beyond normal will fall out of the sky. And the models keep, all right, here's the China coast, here's the Koreas right here, Japan right here, on the coast of China, all the way down to Vietnam. The Philippines are here, and Taiwan is here. So it's kind of dry along the Chinese coast, and that's a bit of a gift. But upstream, where all these rivers have their headwaters greater than 5.5 inches, probably 6 and 7 of excess moisture. So these rivers are already at bank full. The farmland's already flooded, and we're going to get more rain in the headwaters. So at least down below, they'll get some sunshine. Things will dry out a little bit, and that will undoubtedly help them assess the damages. But it's still way, way too early to even begin to deal with cleanup. And we're 6, 7, 8 weeks into this, and that is a long time to be separated from job, from home, from those kind of basic necessities of life. All right, records where we do forecasting records high, either tie or break or within a degree or two, and just not a lot today. Tucson looks like outside of Amarillo, a few spots, and then it gets a little bit warmer as we get towards the end of this week, but once again into the high plains of Texas through New Mexico and into Arizona, remaining on the hot side. As far as low high temperatures, just today it looks like Oxnard at about 80 or 68 degrees, which is nice and cool, but otherwise it is heat. That is the headline, and that is kind of where we are right now. We've got some big stories still developing. The big story in China is obviously the flooding, and I know we haven't seen the end of that. That has yet to crescendo one way or another. That has yet to crescendo, so we'll see how that plays out. And then the storms, we'll probably have lots. I know we'll have great videos coming in from that as people are posting on Twitter even as we speak, and so we'll see some of the damage from those guys as they race towards the east, 70, 80 miles an hour. They're very, very fast movers. All right, I've got a show coming up at 6 o'clock Mountain, so about 45 minutes on another perspective, and I want to talk about all the things we have in common. We've got such division in the country that there has to be some place where a middle ground can be found, where each side can bend just a little bit so we can make that room between us a little smaller, and we can overcome that. Because if they were able to do it, in years and generations past, I know it's something that we're capable of now. All right, guys, I'll see you then on another perspective. Until then, good to see you dropping in there. China, more flooding. Yeah, you guys are great. You guys are great. Good to see you coming on in there. There's a lot to happen. Yeah, I never thought of snow in Australia. It is rare, but not. I can't say it doesn't happen, especially when you get to the southern part and then into the higher terrain. It absolutely does happen because our latitudes are very similar to those here stateside. And we know Utah and Arizona get snow, and so does Southern California and even northern Mexico. So it stands to reason that that's a potentiality down there as well. All right, thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in just a little bit. And as always, hey, keep looking up.